Hello again, Gills fans. Welcome back to Gills in the Blood TV. It is Monday review time as I take a look back at Saturday's thumping 4-0 win over basement side Bradford City. A game where we was probably slightly second best during the first period, but after our second half display, I don't think it was in any doubt that we thoroughly deserved to win the football match and pick up 3 points. And in truth, I think 4-0 probably flattered our opponents at the final whistle. As I said though, first half, they were probably slightly on top without us ever getting completely overrun, but we were indebted to Luke O'Neill a couple of times and Thomas Holy, and they did also have a goal, which I thought was correctly ruled out for offside. Our former skipper Josh Wright missed a really good chance with a free header, only 7 or so yards out, and headed it straight at our keeper, which was useful for us, of course. And obviously if we had gone behind, it could have been an entirely different story. But credit to us, we rode it out, we dug in, we chucked bodies on the line, we put our foot in, and second half it was pretty much one-way traffic. And we scored 4 really good goals, which are coming up on your screen right now. They were, of course, the strikes from Regan Charles Cook, Thomas Eaves, Elliot List, and again Thomas Eaves in injury time to complete the 4-0 scoreline. On top of that, Tom Eaves missed a penalty. He managed to hit the bar from about 5 or 6 yards with a keeper the wrong side of the goal after slipping as he tried to put it in. He headed another chance wide from an Elliot List cross. And I think if there was one small thing I noticed when we was doing the match day live, and if there was any sort of doubt about team spirit and players togetherness, especially those that were involved at the weekend, I thought Elliot List's reaction was quite telling. He was just sort of laughing and wryly smiling at Thomas Eaves, as if to say, "How much more can I do for you, big man?" Without putting it in for you. So a bit of banter flying around, which was good to see. But credit Thomas Eaves, he kept getting in the right place and eventually got his second in injury time. But yeah, let's talk about the goals. Regan Charles Cook, we said at the time, I wasn't sure whether the keeper should have done better, but it's still a really good hit across the keeper, curling into the far corner. Thomas Eaves' goal, another really good finish. I think he catches the keeper out by going left-footed so early, and it arrows it into the far post. Elliot List then got the third. He earned a bit of luck where it sort of bobbled between him and a couple of defenders. Then he had the awareness to get his head up and float a delicious effort over the keeper into the far corner. And even the fourth goal was really good. Some nice build-up play that saw Barry Fuller put in down the left-hand side by Dean Parrott, and he stood up a great ball for Thomas Eaves, who couldn't really miss, and thankfully this time he didn't. So yeah, all in all, a really good afternoon, a really good performance, and in terms of second half, the best I've seen us at the Priestfield in a long time, for sort of a concerted period, rather than just sort of 10 minutes or 15 minutes or 20 minutes here and there. So yeah, so to sum up, obviously, like I say, Bradford were probably slightly the better side first half, but you have to take your chances in football matches. They didn't. We were super clinical with ours, and in the end, it could have been 5, 6 or 7-0, in all honesty, which like I say, it wouldn't have flattered them at all. They look a side that's in real danger of going down. I'm not sure David Hopkins the right man for the job. Again, I'm only basing that on one game, so that might be a little bit harsh, but just looking from the outside in, there didn't seem to be too much in the way of sort of rallying of the troops or inspiration from the touchline when things started to unfold for them, and they went to a pretty weird system chasing the game, which ended up with, I think, Akpan, their centre midfielder, playing centre half, and Josh Wright looked like he was playing right wing back, which all us Gills fans know he isn't. I'm sure Josh Wright knows he isn't as well. But these are the types of things that happens to you when you're down there. We know that too well. It can frazzle the brain a little bit. But back to us. A really good performance and a really massive 3 points, and let's just hope we can build on it now with 4 more home games to come on the spin. And yeah, fair play to Steve Lovell. He's taken a lot of stick, from myself included, over the last few weeks. Portsmouth aside, it's not been very good for quite a while. And then we had the bombshell Thursday where he said that he'd sent a few players away from the football club. One website labelled it as suspended. but maybe that's a slightly strong word now, reading in between the lines in today's Medway Messenger. But he done it, he had his reasons, he said the chairman backed him, and one thing he did promise was a performance and a result, and he certainly got that. So well done to Steve Lovell and to his coaching staff, and also to the players, because they've all come under quite a bit of criticism recently, and you can only respond by beating teams, and yes, you can only beat what's in front of you, and Bradford are a very poor side at the moment, but we did it really, really well. As I've already mentioned, there were some that were sent away from the football club. We don't know who they are for sure, but obviously everyone has had an opinion on it over the weekend because of those that were not involved. Callum Riley and Josh Reese, I'm going to get out of the way first. They were not involved at the weekend, but both were seen at the football ground, so I'm not sure it's them. Which means then that the prime candidates unfortunately probably fall into the likes of Bradley Garmston, Bradley Stevenson, Connor Wilkinson and Josh Parker. Whatever they've done, whether it's just performance related or whether it's to do with being on the training pitch as well and stuff like that, we don't know. It's frustrating as fans if we know that our players are not pulling their weight and not wearing the shirt with pride. And Steve Lovell has alluded to that in the Medway Messenger. He says people were not trying, not pulling their weight and not wearing the badge with pride. I'm not having people around here who are not going to perform and who are not putting in the effort. It is disrespectful to the supporters, the club, the chairman, myself and fellow players. I did a little survey end of last week and I said, was Steve Lovell right to make it public? For me, I think it's fine. It's not just someone's had a bad game or misplaced a pass or cost us a goal. If it's persistently just not putting the effort in on the pitch, on the training ground or whatever in and around the club, then why should Steve Lovell take flack when he's already taking plenty because we're not winning enough games? And why should he protect those that are not protecting him or not protecting the football club? But it's done now. Those that were involved Saturday were really, really good. And obviously I just want to reiterate that it's only me surmising and only doing what everyone else has done, and that's going on the fact that those that weren't in the 18 at the weekend. In terms of Luke Cordell's final paragraph in his match report, which I always tend to look at, he says, August seems a long time ago now, but with Lovell having a fully fit side, the dual side were great on the eye and picking up points. If they can keep their best players fit, then there is no reason why they can't put a dismal last few months behind them and get back to those promising early days of the season. Said it before, I'll say it again, Regan Charles Cook, Brandon Hanlon both played a massive part in that early part of the season when we were very bright, we was on the front foot, we were playing good football, we were getting in behind, we was incisive. I don't think it was any coincidence that when they were both out the side we struggled and sort of reverted to long ball. So let's hope that they can continue their form. Brandon Hanlon was unlucky again at the weekend, had a really good, not really good chance, a half chance first period where he span and got his half volley away and it just went wide of the far post. He's got 2 this season. I think with a bit more luck he probably deserves to have maybe 4, 5 or 6. He's been very, very impressive. In terms of match ratings that we done at the weekend, I'll just compare, so I'll say Luke's first and then ours. Thomas Holy 6, we said 6.5. Back 4 we were spot on with Luke, we all said 7 for O'Neill, Amar, Zakwani and Fuller. We both gave Billy Bingham a 7. Luke gave Mark Byrne a 7, we said 6.5. Darren Oldaker an 8, we said 7.5. The one we was probably the furthest out was Regan Charles Cook. We thought he was really quiet aside from the goal, but Luke gave him an 8, I gave him a 6.5. We didn't think he was at his best throughout the game, but obviously he still had a massive influence in terms of getting that crucial first goal, and hopefully that'll do him the world of good and he'll go and start scoring on a more regular basis now. Thomas Eves we both said 8 and Brandon Hanlon we both said 7. In terms of substitutes, Luke gave Elliot List an 8, we said 7.5. Naveed Nasseri was slightly out. Luke said he got a 7. We only gave him a 6. We thought he wasted a lot of ball. And we gave Dean Parrott a 6, but Luke decided against rating him because he only played the last 8 minutes. I think we gave him 6 because no one deserved lower than that. And also he did get Barry Fuller in for the last goal. But all in all, a pleasing performance, some very decent ratings. But one man who I do want to talk about in a bit more detail is Darren Oldaker. But just quickly, Thomas Eves and Elliot List. Manager Steve Lovell was thrilled at the way Gillingham forward Elliot List responded to a few home truths. He basically says that he'd given him a bit of a rollicking after Plymouth last week, and he was confident, and he said to Mark Patterson that Elliot would come on and have an influence on the game at the weekend, and he couldn't have been more right. He was brilliant. He was unplayable for half an hour, Elliot List, and that's not me exaggerating. They could not live with him. They couldn't live with his pace, direct running. He set up 2 brilliant chances with Thomas Eves, and on another day Eves, he would have stuck both of them away, and Elliot would come away with 2 assists. but Tom Eaves decided to miss both, which can't be helped. But I suppose it don't matter when you're winning 4-0 and you've already scored 2. And Tom Eaves himself, we could be sitting here talking about another Robert Taylor kind of afternoon if he'd managed to stick his penalty away. That would have been a hat-trick. The one that hits the bar from not very far out and the header from even closer. But I'm sure Tom Eaves would be more pleased that he's getting in the positions and getting chances, and he'd only be concerned if he wasn't. But this man coming up on your screen now was very, very impressive. Would probably have been a man of the match contender if it wasn't for Tom Eaves and his goals. So let's talk about him right now. That is, of course, Darren Oldaker, who made his first league start for the football club at the weekend. Took his chance really well. He's been in and around the squad now for a fair while. Justin Edinburgh used to rave about him, but he didn't play loads. And then under Adrian Pennock and Steve Lovell, he's been looked after, protected, not rated, whatever you want to say. I'll be completely honest about Darren Oldaker. My opinion is that I think he's got all the ability in the world. Technically, he's probably one of our best players, and he's only 19. But having spoken to a couple of people within the club at friendlies, etc., it always come across to me that maybe it was in his head that he needed to get himself sorted a little bit. His attitude could have perhaps been a little bit better at times, and maybe that comes from knowing that he is very good, and maybe knowing that technically he's better than plenty in League One. Not in terms of he's played loads of games and he's influenced loads of football matches, but he's got all the tools to be a very good footballer. And I thought we saw that on Saturday. Left foot, right foot, he's very good with both. He was very disciplined in terms of his position. He held his position really well at the base of the diamond, I thought, in that sort of deep playmaker role that was labelled quarterback a few years ago when England tried to push David Beckham into there when his legs went. But 3 standout moments for me for Darren were the first ball that he played to Barry Fuller from right to left, outside of his right foot, drilled it over the top. Unfortunately, Barry Fuller's touch let him down and it rolled out for a throw-in. But that was the first sign of it. And then I think there was another one where he's got the ball again central and he's pinged an absolute beauty of a ball out to Luke O'Neill, who fizzed in a good ball for Thomas Eaves and his header went just over the bar. And finally, the last one, the assist for the second goal is brilliant. I don't think there's anyone else who was on the pitch at the time who would have probably taken that on. Didn't even set himself, didn't even have a touch, just looked up, saw that Tom Eaves was on his bike, floated the ball over the top, and credit to Thomas Eaves, who still had plenty to do. It was a brilliant first touch, got it out of his feet and then smacked it in off the side net in far post to put us 2-0 up, which probably won us the game. But yeah, Darren, DJ, whatever you want to call him, he was brave. He kept wanting the ball, even if something didn't come off, he still wanted it. He was taking it off his keeper, he was taking it off his centre halves. He was dictating play in terms of with the ball. He was telling people where he wanted him to go, telling people where he wanted ball into feet or in front of him. And obviously the trick now is to do it more consistently. If he does get a run in the side, he's got to do it week after week. We know he's only a kid, so it's not going to be 8s and 9s out of 10 every week. There's probably going to be the odd 5. But if we can get 2 decent performances out of 3, I'll be more than happy with that. We have to bear with him. He will make mistakes. That's the nature of his game. He likes to be brave and he wants to make things happen. And sometimes that's not going to get going to occur, and he's going to get caught out. And he got caught out first half Saturday. Lost the ball, and then we conceded a corner from which they had a goal disallowed. Thankfully, it could have been a very different reaction. There was one person behind us who started to start abusing him and shouting mindless name calling, which I found was stupid. At the end of the day, this is a 19-year-old kid who's making his first start in the league for us, and for 90 minutes he was very, very impressive. We've said plenty of times beginning of the season, there's some youngsters in this squad that excite us, and we're going to have to bear with them when it's not quite going to plan. But a bit more credit to Steve Lovell as well for chucking him in what was a massive game, and probably a game that Steve Lovell knew if he didn't win, he could have been in real trouble in terms of keeping his job at the football club. So credit Steve Lovell, but massive credit to DJ, a brilliant performance. I think the key word for me is mature. I thought it was a really mature display. Positionally, he was really good, didn't get caught out a lot. And with the ball, he was really brave, really incisive, and got us into some dangerous areas, which is what we want to see. So credit DJ, well done, mate. Right, that is about it from me today. Prize draw will be tweeted about tonight, so keep an eye out for that. Ticket giveaway for Saturday as we host Fleetwood. I will be back on Thursday with Boz for weekly review, match preview of that game against the COD Army. And then obviously we'll be at the Priestfield on Saturday for Match Day Live to hopefully give 2 tickets away. As always, thanks for watching, thanks for retweeting. Please keep commenting down below. Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, we're on all of them social media platforms. And until next time, up the Gills.